Hello all, my name is Chris, and I'm here to talk about my favorite franchise of all time, a franchise that somewhat travels through time. Yes, I'm here to talk about the history of Assassin's Creed, which is about history. So why don't we take a leap of faith and dive right in? First and foremost, it's important that we address the fact that there are a lot of Assassin's Creed games. For the sake of this video, I'll just be covering the major console releases. But I do want to give a proper shout out to the DS and PSP games, Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation, which initially launched on the Vita, the side-scrolling Chronicles series, and the multiple mobile games that date as far back as flip phones. You remember flip phones? Yeah, the series has been out for a while. In 2007, Ubisoft released the original Assassin's Creed game on the Xbox 360 and the PS3. Now this game was met with a lot of hype, as gamers were eager for a stealth, third-person open world that utilized the parkour-style movement, which was rising in popularity at the time. Assassin's Creed was also met with a lot of cautious optimism, as the game took place in the Holy Land during the Third Crusade, so there was clearly a lot of religious undertones going on. One of the most unique aspects of the game was that it had a twist beginning. None of the marketing or trailers gave away the fact that the game actually takes place during modern day. The main protagonist is actually Desmond Miles, who is captured by Megatech Corporation Abstergo, who forces Desmond to live out the genetic memories of his distant ancestor Altair by essentially hooking him up to a super advanced Matrix-style lazy boy. While the game received generally positive reviews, it was widely criticized for its repetitive nature as well as its increasing difficulty later in the game. Nevertheless, it set the groundwork for a franchise that has been going strong for over 10 years. In 2009, Assassin's Creed 2 was released, and while the narrative of Desmond Miles continued, we were introduced to a new assassin in Ezio Auditore di Firenze. It just rolls off the tongue. This much anticipated sequel took place during the peak of the Renaissance in Italy, and took players to multiple locations, including Venice, Tuscany, Forli, and Florence. Players were also introduced to the time period's many non-fictional characters, including Leonardo da Vinci and Rodrigo Borgia. Many of the critiques the previous game had were addressed in Assassin's Creed 2, including having diverse locations, a multitude of things to do, and overall just a more balanced and fun game. Ezio made his return in the 2010 release of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. By this point in the franchise, it's clear that there has been an ongoing conflict for centuries between the Templars and the Assassins. And to this day, Brotherhood has been a fan favorite of the franchise, largely due to its setting of 16th century Rome, as well as being the first game to introduce multiplayer. It also contains one of the hardest missions to 100% synchronize, so if you're a completionist like me, you share my hatred of the Hell on Wheels mission. Finishing off the Ezio trilogy is Assassin's Creed Revelations. This game features an older, grizzled Ezio, which happens to be the best Ezio. All I'm saying is beards are rad, and Ezio rocks it with the best of them. Revelations takes place in Constantinople and largely focuses on Ezio trying to get back into Altair's vault in Masyaf, a throwback to the original Assassin's game. Not only did Revelations give a great ending for Ezio, but it did the same for Altair. The next game in the series is Assassin's Creed 3, which is actually the 5th game of the franchise, but it was the 3rd Assassin, so it kinda made sense. Kinda. In Assassin's Creed 3, Ubisoft did clearly not throw away their shot by bringing the franchise stateside to America during the Revolutionary War. The game is centered around assassin Connor Kenway, who happens to be the son of Templar agent Haytham Kenway. Notably, the modern timeline of the game addressed the 2012 Mayan end of the world superstition, but it did so in real time as the game came out in October of 2012. Now, I don't want to spoil too much, but the Mayans were right, and we all kind of owe a debt of gratitude to Desmond Miles. Moving on, or rather backwards, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is a prequel of sorts. In it, you play assassin pirate Captain Edward Kenway, who actually happens to be the father of Templar Haytham Kenway, and he is the grandfather to assassin Connor Kenway. There's a whole lot of weird family dynamic happening. Black Flag was a huge success, largely due to the amazingly fun naval combat and navigation that the game was built around. With its sea shanties and its upgradable ship the Jackdaw, Black Flag stands out as one of the most fun Assassin's Creed titles to date. It was also the first Assassin's Creed game to release on last-gen and current-gen consoles simultaneously. For 2014, fans were delivered not one, but 2 brand new Assassin's Creed games. This is also when Ubisoft stopped numbering their titles whenever a new assassin would appear. Assassin's Creed Unity served as the first fully dedicated new-gen console release, while Assassin's Creed Rogue was a send-off title for last-gen consoles Xbox 360 and the PS3. Rogue was the first and only Assassin's Creed title where you play from the perspective of a Templar. Well, it was an assassin turned Templar to be specific. The game felt like a greatest hits album of sorts, combining many elements from previous games, including the naval combat from Black Flag. Recently, Templar Shay Cormac returned when Rogue was remastered and released for current-gen consoles. Unity was a brave step forward that ultimately fell short of its goal in the eyes of many gamers and critics. Unity was the story of Arno Dorian, who was orphaned when his father was killed under mysterious circumstances. Unity also introduced co-op mode where you could explore the city of Paris with up to 4 players. While the graphics and controls took a big step forward, the game launched with multiple bugs and other issues which ultimately led to Ubisoft issuing an apology. I personally loved the co-op portion of Unity, but even as big as a fan as I am, I can concede that the game wasn't quite finished when it hit shelves. In 2015, we saw the release of Assassin's Creed Syndicate. As the name implies, you take control of your own street gang and build a syndicate of your own. There is not one, but 2 featured assassins in this title, Jacob and Evie Fry, who are trying to liberate Victorian-era London of Templar control. A new feature that Syndicate introduced was the ability to swap out characters on the fly. That is, of course, you were about to start a mission that required you play as either Jacob or Evie. Syndicate being set in 1868 is actually the most current historical setting of the franchise to date. Extra fun fact, my cat Jacob is named after Jacob Fry in this game. I actually prefer the character Evie a little bit more, but we won't tell him that. Going from the most modern to the most ancient time period in the game brings us to our most current and 10th release of the franchise, Assassin's Creed Origins. Due to the negative reception of Unity seemingly being rushed to launch, Ubisoft specifically gave more development time to Origins. As almost all of the previous games were released annually, Origins was released a full 2 years after Syndicate and was met with rave reviews. Developed by the same team who created Black Flag, Origins is one, if not the most polished Assassin's game to release. With the largest landmass the franchise has seen, as well as the introduction of many RPG elements, this game dwarfs the other games in not only size, but content. Origins takes place in the Ptolemaic period of ancient Egypt. You take the role of Bayek of Siwa, the last of the Magi, an almost sheriff-like enforcer of the law. You also occasionally play as his wife Aya, who is just as influential, if not more so, in telling the story of the origins of the Assassin's Brotherhood. Hence the title, Assassin's Creed Origins. Recently, the 11th installment of the franchise was announced, and by announced, I mean leaked, as Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This series has been notorious for having elements of a new release leaked months before Ubisoft ever makes an official announcement. That being said, the Assassin's Creed community is one of the most loyal and dedicated fan bases out there. So it's no surprise that we eat up every morsel of information as it's given to us. Well, that about sums up my brief history of the Assassin's Creed franchise. Obviously, there is so much more depth to this series that I couldn't get to here, such as the modern-day narrative, the pieces of Eden, the first civilization who created the first civilization, and so much more. But it's all out there for you to explore, and it's not just in the games, but an entire extended universe consisting of novels, comic books, movies, and hopefully an upcoming television series. I would like to personally thank Ubisoft for giving me my favorite franchise. Y'all keep making those games and I'm gonna keep playing them. And remember, nothing is true, everything is permitted.